Hello and welcome to the Arsenal Way. Back again. Really happy to be back, actually, because it's been too long since we've been able to do these morning shows. Apologies for the slight hiatus that we've had on the channel, completely out of our hands. But we're very happy to be back and producing content for you every single morning, weekday at 10 a.m. UK time. I'm joined by Umar. How you doing, mate? You good, Joel?
Yeah, good TC. Like you said, happy to be back. It's crazy how much you miss it when it's gone away for a few days. But no, I'm glad to be back and happy that Chris is back as well.
I was going to say, yeah, amazing you can miss Chris so much, but it's good to see his face. How you doing, my friend?
Yeah, thank you, boys. Not too bad. We're continuing to recover from my injury, but each day it's getting better, slowly but surely. But really good to be back on it with you guys.
Lovely stuff, indeed. I hope you've been sent some kind messages. We've been telling you to send for people to send some cool messages through. So hopefully you've received some, and I'm sure you'll get a warm welcome, of course, again from the chat box. Good morning, everybody joining us today. Hope you're doing good. Hope you're doing well, and thank you for jumping back on. We know that sometimes when shows disappear for a little bit and pop back, it can be difficult to find them. So thanks for tuning in. A lot has happened, of course, whilst we've been away. Transfers in particular, but the majority of business, Umar, has been on the outgoings front. We've seen plenty of players move on. Lucas Torreira, finally no longer an Arsenal player. Pablo Mari, we're expecting an announcement on his departure very soon. Players like Ainsley Maitland-Niles and Nelson in the news because they're expecting inquiries for those guys. There's been negotiations with Hector Bellerin's agent and the club to try and sort out a termination, although apparently the club is still trying to hold firm on getting a transfer fee for him. We've already moved on a number of other players as well this window. Do you feel like this is quicker than I expected a lot of these players to move on? I thought they'd be going like in the last week of the window, but we're managing to move them on pretty quickly.
That's what I thought. I thought if there was with the likes of Mari, Torreira as well, I thought it would be a bit difficult to move them out. But I think towards the end of the window, it would have been more likely. But I think it's a testament to the job that Edu has done this window for me. I think in terms of the players that he's brought in, but also the business that he's done in getting the players that we don't see as part of the club moving forwards. So I think he's done a very good job. It's not finished. Don't get me wrong. I still think there's things that we still need to do in this window. In terms of outgoings, the futures of Ainsley Maitland-Niles, Reece Nelson, we've not heard much about that in terms of rumours. So maybe they could be staying at the club, but if they do go, potentially could be loan moves. But I still think there's a few incomings that Arsenal should be targeting. But we'll probably hear more about that once we do get rid of the likes of Runarsson, Mari, when they all get confirmed, I guess.
Fair enough. I think that when we consider the fact that Arsenal have got business still to do, the fact that we are moving on these players so soon is an encouraging sign that hopefully Edu can then focus kind of his efforts very much on incomings. We've seen through the All or Nothing series now, which you can of course watch for Amazon Prime, and episodes 4 to 6 kind of delve into the chaos of the January window. Edu hates it, is what he basically says, that he doesn't like the window at all. And Chris, what we've experienced, I think, is it is currently kind of a focusing at the start of the window on bringing players in, a brief break from that to try and move more of those players out, which we're doing, and then an expectation that hopefully one or two could be brought in towards the end of the window. Do you have the optimism that is the case?
Yeah, I do. I mean, it was a very good start to the window. Sometimes you never know what to expect from Arsenal, and certainly there was a lot of unrest. I think a lot of maybe worry which stemmed from the January window. Obviously, there was, as a supporter, you thought that there was room for business to be done. We were missing that sort of star striker, but the club remained patient. They forward planned ahead for this window for this summer, and I think that's shown. So it was obviously a very good start, getting the likes of Jesus, Zinchenko, Vieira, etc. through the door. Quite a sensible idea to maybe get those ones in to begin with, to then or before then going on to sort of concentrate on departures, which was absolutely key because the squad was becoming bloated. There was lots of sort of individuals in the squad that maybe weren't going to feature much or were sort of pushing for a move away. So yeah, it's sort of in terms of the outgoings, it was slow to begin with. But I mean, I think Arteta came out, didn't he, whilst the squad was in America, and told the media that that process to offload was going to start very soon, and it actually did. So it's good to see the club taking action quickly, and hopefully now these outgoings and the sort of how we've managed to offload a few players, and obviously there's still more to leave. Hopefully, like I say, that will enable us to do further business on the incomings front. I look at the squad now and look at it last season. You think of all those youngsters that were making up the numbers on the bench. Flores, I think you had Pino on there, Hutchinson. They're all gone, either permanently or out on loan. On top of the senior players that are now going, and you can name 9 players on the bench, make 4 or 5 subs. You're going to have to have more depth there. So I think it's quite clear that more needs to be done. I think Arteta and Edu are aware of that, and they will certainly try. And look, if the business earlier on in the window is anything to go by, then I think we will get at least 1 more, maybe 2 in.
Yeah, I hope that we can get at least 1 more. I think we can notice that the right wing position, or just the wing position in general, and the central midfield area are those 2 key positions. Youri Tielemans, has been a lot said about him. Umar, in the last fair few days, we broke the story that Arsenal would be prepared to wait all the way through to 2023 if necessary to get him on a free transfer. There's a clear indication that they don't want to overspend on a player that they feel is not worth the £32 million Leicester are asking for. Do you think that this is a bit of a risky strategy that means Arsenal may end up missing out on the player altogether?
It is a risk, but I watched your show on the Guna Talk, and you said similar. Like, I think £32 million, whatever Leicester at the moment are charging, is quite excessive for a player who could be a free agent in a year's time. So I was a bit worried when the links to Manchester United were coming to fruition, but Manchester United seemingly looking to sign Adrian Rabiot, looking to sign your favorite player, Milinkovic Savic. So I think they moved on in terms of the Youri Tielemans agenda. So I think if Arsenal do want to sign him, I think Arsenal will get him, but I think price and business, I think it has to take consideration for me, because as much as Youri Tielemans is a good player, as much as he's Premier League proven, as much as what he can offer this Arsenal team, in a business sense, it doesn't make sense to offer less than £32 million for a player which you can potentially get for free. Everyone knows that Youri Tielemans wants to come to Arsenal. The agents have spoken with the club. So I think it's Arsenal being a bit clever right now, biding their time. So I still think Youri Tielemans will come to the club, but maybe it may come towards the end of the window rather than now.
Absolutely. Look, I think Youri Tielemans is obviously a player of Premier League quality, and we know that from his time at Leicester. But I don't see him as an outright upgrade on Granit Xhaka, at the moment in the Arsenal midfield. I really don't see him as kind of a clear upgrade on him. I know Xhaka's kind of got this stigma attached to him that it's very difficult to get over the errors and the red cards, but he's been very good for us in the last couple of years. He's probably been, I would argue there's been times he's been more consistent than Thomas Partey's been in Arsenal's midfield, especially when they've played together. I think Partey being there is absolutely a big key part of helping Xhaka be the best he can be. But I don't think necessarily that Tielemans is an immediate upgrade in every single game. I think against the bigger teams, I'd be more tempted to use Xhaka than Tielemans. We saw Tielemans against Spurs last season for Leicester, had a cataclysmic game that obviously in the end handed Spurs top 4, because that extra 3 points they got with those 2 goals in injury time really changed the course of the season. So, it's not cut and dry that he immediately upgrades on us. The other player, Chris, that is heavily linked right now is Yéremy Pino of Villarreal. Interesting 19-year-old, turns 20 in October. Rumours, according to Goal, that Arsenal are indeed interested and could be willing to put in an offer. Villarreal are willing to accept pretty much half of that €80 million release clause that he has, so around €45 million, around £38 million. Is this the type of wide player you expect us to go for? And now it seems to be fairly, certain that he is indeed one of those players that Arsenal are looking at. Is it underwhelming, or is it an exciting transfer for you?
I think it's quite exciting. I was looking at his stats the other day. In terms of his goal contributions, very consistent. They're up there. Obviously, very tricky on the ball, pacey. Like I said, he's dangerous in front of goal as well. And I mean, when you think of the exciting young talent we've already got at the club, it's quite an exciting thought that we could add on top of that as well with a talent like Pino. So yeah, an intriguing one. I think his name has been linked with us before, if I remember correctly, a few months back, maybe in January last summer. So it's I suppose it's not a massive surprise. It's not sort of a Fabio Vieira point to a name out of nowhere. It's a name that Arsenal have obviously been looking at for a very long time. They've done their scouting, their research, and they've continued to monitor him, which tells you an awful lot. He's obviously a player that has impressed the recruitment team and the scouting department. So yeah, encouraging signs. I mean, I suppose the only thing that does surprise me is that there has been names linked, from within the Premier League. I know maybe it's more of the fans that have linked someone like Pedro Neto to the club, but again, he's a more safer option perhaps. Trossard at Brighton, another name that's been linked. So the club keeping their options open by the looks of it, and obviously that's not a surprise. We've seen it with other areas of the team that we've looked to strengthen. Obviously, we were looking at originally at Lisandro Martinez, but then we moved on to Zinchenko. So the club will have numerous options lined up just in case one falls through or they have to move on to another target for whatever reason. So as I was saying, the business that we've done already, I think certainly gives me. I'm not obviously sure. I can't speak on behalf of the other supporters, but it certainly gives me confidence heading into the final few weeks of the window because we've got a plan in place. We've been prepared. We've got contingency plans ready to take upon if we need to. So we'll just wait and see what happens. I think with the winger position in particular, I think when you compare it to midfield and getting a new midfielder in, it's slightly different because we've offloaded Lucas Torreira, which could open up that that space to bring someone else in. You would think, but then with a winger, Nicolas Pepe still here, you just wonder how much he's going to have a direct impact on going for a winger. I mean, obviously you could look back at that Rafinha pursuit. We were going for him regardless of if Pepe was still here or not. So it'll be interesting to see if we take that approach again with someone else. But one to keep an eye on.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I did a piece the other day in a slight off record interview, not off record, but off audio records with Alvaro Romeo for football.london, where he talked about how he felt Santi Cazorla is quite a comparative player to Pino in the sense that he used to play when he was at Recreativo Huelva on the wing. He played on the wing a bit of Villarreal as well, of course, where Pino now plays, and then moved more into a central area. And he could kind of see Pino moving in that similar direction. So it's interesting the profile of player that he is. I think there's scope for that. But then you think Smith Rowe, Ødegaard, Fabio Vieira, where is he going to get into the team? I think he's a versatile option. He's played centre forwards. I think he played in a 2-0 win over Real Betis at centre forward in the middle. So, he's got that versatility about him. And it is an exciting young talent. I've put a link to that piece in today's chat box if you want to go and check that one out. It's an interesting question from Abdu. They get asked a hell of a lot, Umar. Why does Arsenal take so long to get a player through the door? Why do you think there's a misconception around this, or do you think there's a legit kind of theory behind it?
No, honestly, I think it's a misconception. I think most of the times the deal's already done. I think just Arsenal take a bit of time announcing the signings because we're in a day and age where social media is such a big platform now, whether that's Twitter, Facebooks, and you look at teams even in non-league, the announcements that they make are just crazy good. So I think Arsenal have to take everything into account, but at times it can be frustrating as fans when you know that a deal is done, but Arsenal are taking long to announce it. But I think we talk too much about it, and more times than not, the deals are done, to be honest.
Absolutely. I think that with, players like Zinchenko, we pivoted very, very quickly to get that deal done after missing out on Martinez. Gabriel Jesus was in discussion for a long time, and eventually once the season finished, we accelerated those plans and got him through the door as well. Matt Turner, we got done very quickly, and Marquinhos, we got done very quickly. But those other positions, sometimes things change in the market. You know, Youri
Yeah.
Tielemans, the reason why this one's dragged on, obviously, is the club aren't willing to pay as much as Leicester have been asking for. There are other issues at the start of the window which delayed things. Then Arsenal went and looked at other potential targets. And I think that's why we're now seeing a situation where it may rumble onto the window as a bit of a tactic from Arsenal to see if they can kind of panic Leicester into accepting a lower fee. And the other area being right wing has been affected, obviously, by Nicolas Pepe and Reece Nelson still being here. So all of that combined, I think, to be honest, means that it might seem to us like Arsenal taking ages, but in reality, they're not. There's also this sort of things, which is there's so many rumours that get spread all the time. Sometimes they're on the money. Sometimes they're guesses that are quite turn out to be true. So because they are reported without too much realism behind them, say months ago, it makes it feel like it took ages to get that deal done. When in reality, Arsenal moved quite quickly and initially far later than the initial rumour that came forward. So I think that's probably one of the misconceptions, and I agree about this. Albert says the way Edu is handling the Tielemans deal is a transfer tactic that Leicester might figure out. Both sides are going to hold on to see who would fold first. Chris, are we being too risky with Tielemans?
I think there's always a risk, isn't there, when you take your time over a potential deal. But sort of the noise surrounding this particular one, right from the very start, is that Arsenal have always sort of been the front runners. They've been confident over, eventually coming to an agreement. It seems as if much of the groundwork has already been laid out, sort of certainly with the player already. There's been discussions with his representatives. Reports suggest Arsenal have made it pretty clear to the players' side that they are really interested and they will try to get him. So they'll have obviously established a really good relationship with the player and his representatives. I'm sure they'll be keeping each other in the loop in terms of what the situation is, if there's any other teams circling around as well. I mean, obviously Manchester United have been mentioned as a potential destination for him, but we'll have to wait and see. It doesn't seem as if, even though this one's been rumbling on for a long time now, as if, it doesn't seem as if anything's, imminent or close. So again, it's just one to keep a close eye on, isn't there? And that's Albert says in the comment, see, who ends up sort of folding up first and making that first move. And we'll have to wait and see how it plays out. But I think it's become pretty clear that Tielemans is looking for a new challenge. Leicester are willing to offload him, but they're trying to get as much money as they possibly can. I think they'll eventually accept defeat in the fact that they're not going to get maybe as much as they would have liked, because he is in the final year of his contract. The player is keen, so he can push from his side as well. And we know, obviously, it's been reported that Leicester are sort of in a bit of financial trouble. They can't sign any players at the moment. They're looking to offload one or two. So, yeah, we'll have to wait and see. But it's certainly one that is possible this summer. Absolutely no doubt about that. But, we'll wait and see when we see, how strongly Arsenal are willing to go in for him, because so far they've been very patient at playing that patient game. And look, when it gets into the final couple of weeks, or even the final week of the window, clubs starting to make rash decisions, or they change their stance on a certain player. So as I keep saying, one to keep an eye on. You've just got to hope, haven't you, that a club doesn't come in the meantime for him. But you still get the sense that Arsenal are very much in a strong position to beat off any competition.
Absolutely. Babatunde says, why is it so difficult for us to win at least one a Champions League place? Why it's difficult to qualify for that and not talk of winning? I think that last season, the Champions League was missed out on for me because of the injuries to Partey, Tomiyasu and Tierney. Those cost us. And we lost Ben White, of course, in a couple of games too because of his situation. And then he was rushed back against Newcastle, as was a couple of others. And we suffered because of that lack of depth, which I think, we've addressed that this summer. And Umar, I go into these games against Leicester and then hopefully later on down the line during the tough fixtures that will come after the World Cup as well, when we have a lot of fixtures at the same time, with more confidence that the depth in this team is going to be great. I mean, there's potential for our bench at the weekend to look something like Turner, Smith Rowe, Fabio Vieira, Lokonga or El Neni. One of them two might even miss out. You got Holding, you got Tierney, Tomiyasu. There's so much that we can have on that bench, and we can really change things, I think, this season because of our depth.
Yeah, I think last season we had a very good team, but I think this season we have a squad we have a squad capable of challenging. And I think the past seasons, Mikel Arteta has continually said what he wants in terms of incomings, in terms of squad players. When he looks at the Manchester City team, I think he realized that if Arsenal want to get to where Manchester City are year in, year out, they need at least 2 players for each position, quality players, not like a very good player who starts week in, week out. And then when that player is out of the team, you have a player which is good, but has many limitations to his game. But I think now, for example, if he's out, I have no problem with Zinchenko playing because I know he's going to do a very good job. And vice versa at right back. I know there's been a lot said about Ben White, Takehiro Tomiyasu, but I think when Takehiro Tomiyasu doesn't play, I think Ben White's more than capable of going to that right hand side. And I thought he was very good. I think a lot was said about his performance against Crystal Palace. Some people may not agree with me, but I think playing Wilfred Zaha, one of the best wingers in the Premier League, it's not easy to do. And I thought he kept him quiet, to be honest. I thought him and Saliba, they work well together. So I think right now, we're building something special. I think people are excited. You look at the games which are being sold out thick and fast. I think people go to the Arsenal website and tickets are sold out after a minute. Is a feel good factor right now. And with the upcoming games that we have coming up, why can't we, even after that game against Aston Villa, why can't we go to Old Trafford and break this hoodoo and continue that with the win against Everton? Right now I'm confident, because I think there's no reason not to be, because the players are there, the squad harmony's there, everything seems happy about the club. But obviously with Arsenal, there's something around the corner that's going to just make you say stop, you're going a bit too far. But right now I'm enjoying the ride.
Yeah, me too. I really, really am. I think that there is potential for this season to produce something that may surprise people. I'm not going to start talking about title changes, of course, because it's ridiculous. But I think that aiming to finish as high as possible and not going, our aim is the Champions League. For me, the minimum expectation is that. But our aim should be finish as high as feasibly possible in this league. And that goes well and above and beyond trying to finish just fourth. That just looking at fourth place and going, that's the target for me, is I don't buy into that. I actually found it a little bit strange listening to the All or Nothing first 3 episodes, so no spoilers for the new ones, when Thierry Henry was commenting and said, you live, breathe top 4. And he said top 4. And I found that really odd. I thought he was going to say, you live, breathe, everything to win things. I get where he's coming from. I know that like kind of Arsenal should be in the top 4. The Premier League is a very competitive place. You can't win it every year. But I found that. Did either of you found that a little bit odd?
Chris?
Yeah. Obviously, I think that the whole thing around top 4, it's been associated with Arsenal for such a long time, hasn't it? Especially under Wenger, top 4 every single season, getting the Champions League football. And it became a bit of a rhythm, a bit of a theme for the football club. But you can't just be fighting for top 4, can you? You've got to be fighting for the title when you're eventually in a position to fight for it. This is what Arsenal have got to do now. I think that is what they're attempting to do, but it's going to take some time, and it is to get to the standards, get back to the levels of Manchester City and Liverpool, because Arsenal Football Club was once at the level of where Liverpool and Manchester City are now, winning every single week, winning Champions, well, not winning Champions League, but being competitive in that competition, winning the Premier League, obviously being competitive in the other cup competitions as well. They were up there every single week, and everyone feared playing Arsenal Football Club. Whereas that fear of playing Arsenal Football Club has obviously sort of just disappeared in recent years, and now the fear is playing your Manchester Cities and your Liverpool. So Arsenal's aim has got to be to get to that level again, to reach that consistency and put that fear factor into other teams that we once had. So obviously returning to the Champions League is the first step of doing that, because it raises the profile of the club even more, even though that profile is already huge. We know that. It attracts more players, it raises the funds, and then you can improve the team even further. So that's got to be the first aim. Of course, Thierry's got a point there of getting back into the Champions League. That's got to be the first aim. But then when you get that back, and when you find that consistency, you get into the rim of things again, and you're competing with the best teams in the world, because this is what the club have been saying for a long time now. Our aim is to start competing amongst the elite again, get back to where we belong. That's the first step, and then we've got to look to build on top of that. We've got a very good project in place, and some may argue against that, but we've at least got a very clear plan in place, I should say. We're moving slowly but surely in the right direction, and hopefully we can get there before long. But we've got to take one step as it comes. Champions League qualification, of course, is that first step, and then we can hopefully build on from there, and start challenging for titles, etc. So that's got to be the aim.
Absolutely. Indeed, it does. Harvey says, do you guys think we're going to bring in more players for the window shut? Just a simple yes or no. Are we going to bring anyone else in? Umar?
Yes.
Chris?
Yes.
Me too. So we'll end the show on that positive, optimistic note. Thank you so much, guys, for tuning in. Thank you for returning. The fact that over 400 of you have listened in, or more than that, I know, but 400 concurrently have listened live is great, considering we've been off the last few days. So thank you for the continued support. Do drop a like on the video. Do subscribe to the channel for continued coverage of Arsenal throughout the season, the rest of the transfer window, of course. We'll be bringing you plenty ahead of the game against Leicester City. I'll be joined by Kaya Karnak a little bit later on this afternoon for a conversation. But Umar, thank you so much for your time. Always appreciate it.
Thank you both. Yeah, and like you said, it's good to be back.
Indeed. Chris, always a pleasure, my friend, and I hope you feel better soon.
Thank you, lads. Thank you for the warm welcome back, and thank you to everyone in the comments section for tuning in, and I hope everyone has a great day.
Indeed. Have a good one, people. We'll see you soon, and as always, keep following us down the Arsenal way.
49, 49, playing for the Arsenal way.